Hello, and welcome back to Stuff About History. I'm Anson, and today's episode is about the famous cotton gin. Cotton is a very popular crop and an ideal crop because it is easy to grow and its fibers can be stored for long periods. Cotton, though, contains seeds that are very hard to remove from the cotton fiber. This is then where the cotton gin is used. The cotton gin is a key component in the cotton business, as it is a machine that speeds up the process of removing the seeds from the fiber in a very, very fast way. The cotton gin is a machine that changed the United States in both a good way and a bad way. This machine is an 18th century invention created by Eli Whitner, who was an inventor. And today, I know it's kind of crazy, but we went back in time and got Eli Whitney to come on the show. How are you, Whitney?
Well, it isn't every day you get to go into the future, so I'll say I'm doing alright.
That's great. Can you tell us where you were born and how you got the idea for the cotton gin?
Sure. Well, I was born on December 8th, 1765 in Westborough, Massachusetts. I was raised on a farm over there. Growing up, I proved to be a very talented mechanic and inventor. My young self saw how the marketplace worked and began to make hatpins and canes, as that is what people wanted at the time. I was a genius who observed what people wanted and produced them. I went to Yale College, and then after I graduated, I gave thought to become a lawyer, but I first had to pay debts and needed a job. I then went and became a private tutor in Georgia, but my plans did not go the way they wanted to. I got an invitation from Catherine Greene, who was the widow of an American Revolutionary War general Nathaniel Greene, to stay on her plantation, which was known as Mulberry Grove, near Savannah, Georgia. While staying there, I learned about cotton production, in particular, the difficulty cotton farmers faced making a living. There is one type of cotton that is known as long staple, which is easy to clean but only grew well along the coastal areas. Because of this, the majority of cotton farmers were forced to have to grow short staple cotton, which is a more labor-intensive cotton to grow. The reason it is because it has to be cleaned by hand, which is very painful. The average cotton picker could remove the seeds from only around 1 pound of cotton per day. Greene and her plantation manager, Phineas Miller, explained the difficulties of producing short staple cotton to me, and I was then encouraged to find a solution to this problem.
Wow, that is really cool. Now, could you tell us how and why you made the cotton gin?
Well, I was trying to make money, like I said before, so I was hoping that if I could create such a machine, I could then apply to a federal government for a patent. If it was granted, then I would have exclusive rights to this machine for 14 years based on the Patent Act of 1790, and I could then get a large profit from it. In hopes of making this happen, I put my plans of going into law aside, and during the winter and spring would then work in a secret workshop that was provided by Catherine Greene. During this time, I made the cotton gin. The cotton gin, or cotton engine as it's short for, works something like a strainer. The cotton was run through a drum made from wood that had a lot of hooks that would catch the fibers from the cotton and drag them through a mesh. The mesh was too fine to let the seeds through, but the hooks could pull out the fibers easily. Smaller gins could be cranked by hand, and then later bigger ones could be powered by horse and then later by steam engine. The hand-cranked version that I made could remove the seeds from 50 pounds of cotton in one day.
That is awesome. And we found a letter that you wrote to your father when you made the cotton gin. It says, "One man and a horse will do more than 50 men with the old machines. 'Tis generally said by those who know anything about it that I shall make a fortune by it." So I thought that it was really cool that you wrote to your father about it. Now, I know you got a patent. Could you go through the process of you getting the patent?
Sure. So I got a patent for the machine in 1794. Miller and I made a cotton gin manufacturing company where the two of us would build and install them on the plantations throughout the South. For the payment, though, we didn't want money. The payment would be a portion of all the cotton produced by each plantation with our device. I thought that it would be a great idea, as we would make money from the cotton that we get, and the farmers would make much more cotton and just give us a portion of it. The farmers, though, were very excited about this new machine that would increase cotton production by a large measure, but they did not want to share a significant percentage of the cotton with Miller and I. Because these farmers didn't want to pay us, farmers then made their own versions of the cotton gin, and some of these versions were said to be better versions than our original one, which I doubted. The patent laws, though, had some loopholes that made it difficult for me to protect my rights from the machine that I made. A few years later, though, the law did change, but my patent for the machine expired, so I couldn't stop people from making my versions of the machines. Because of this, I did not make that much money that I thought I'd make. Even though I didn't make that much money from it, I'm proud that I made something that was huge for the economy. As for the South, it would impact the growth of cotton by a huge amount and in a cheap way.
That is awesome. Now, how did it help with the economy? Because I know it did some good things and it also did some bad things.
Yes, so the cotton gin did have many effects on the economy. One of them is the production of cotton skyrocketed, as the yield of raw cotton doubled after each decade in the 1800s. Another thing was that America produced three-quarters of the world's cotton because of my machine. By the 19th century, the South produced three-fifths of America's exports, which most of it was cotton. Even though the cotton gin did help with the production, it also increased slavery in the South. The cotton gin did reduce the need of slaves to remove the seeds, but it did not reduce the needs of them to grow and pick cotton. Because the seeds were so easy to remove, it increased the demand for both land and slaves for the cotton farmers.
Yep. So it was both amazing in the production, but it also increased slaves. Very interesting. In an article I read, it said that in 1790, there were 6 states that were known as slave states, but in 1860, there were 15 slave states. Between 1790 and 1808, which is when Congress banned slave trade from Africa, Southerners had imported 80,000 Africans. That's an estimated 1 in 3 Southerners were slaves in 1860. I'm guessing that this happened because of the cotton gin.
Yes, I was a great inventor that created the cotton gin to make production of the cotton much faster. It was a remarkable thing at the time, but it did increase slave laborers.
Well, thank you so much for that interview. It was awesome knowing how the cotton gin was made and what happened because of it. Now I have to deliver him back to his time, so I will see you guys next time on Stuff About History.